This time we are with James Cross, the owner of Borjia Bars.
Yep.
And Fever.
Fever and Boutique in Northampton.
Yep. And we're going to go through a really interesting chat as to how James got here. So welcome, thank you for coming.
No worries, and thanks for having me.
Welcome, sir. So yeah, if you want to, obviously we were just talking a little bit beforehand, if you want to kind of start off how we got here today with yourself.
Yeah, so as a business partner myself, his name's Dave. Been friends of mine, for a decade and a half now. And my background was all through Revolution. So I started as a glass collector in 2007, I think it was, as a job before I went to uni in my gap. And then I decided I was going to take a gap year, and I've not finished my gap year yet, sort of 12 years later. So yeah, worked for Revs for just over a decade, worked my way up with them. And my business partner Dave, he made his money in care homes, and sort of we kept having mostly drunken conversations about at some point we want to do our own thing. And he approached me a couple of times and I said, no, I'm not ready, etc. And then eventually he came to me when I felt like I was in a position to say yes to it. So we started looking in Northampton, which is home for both of us, and came across Borjia, which had been running for 4 years prior to our sort of interest. And it was run by quite a well-known DJ, and his business partner was a solicitor. And they're both, Paul was moving to London and wanted to come out of the day-to-day running of the business, and Dave, the solicitor, who's now our solicitor, ironically, never wanted to be involved in the day-to-day. He was sort of a background. So we sort of agreed a deal back in November 17, and took over the Licklist at the start of December, which was the worst time of the year to ever buy a bar, because everything's going on, it's too busy, and you haven't got enough time to make any changes and tweaks. But it was great. It was great to do it. So yeah, and we're 18 months in now, and we've taken over Fever and Boutique from Fever, Bar Fever Limited. We did that in May of 2018, and then we've taken on a couple of local independents in Corby and Kettering as well. Okay. So
tell us a little bit about Borjia itself, because it's quite a unique venue.
Yeah, so it's an old memorial hall. So it was built in sort of memorial of the Battle of the Somme. Right. And the plaque on the stained glass window out there is from one of the regiments that the owner who originally made it's son fought in, I believe. So we use it. Like I say, our landlord is our solicitor who ran it originally, and we do a lot with Heritage on Heritage Week and let people come around and see it. So it's an old memorial hall. It was converted into a bar, like I say, 6 years ago now, 5.5.
Do you market and sell it because it's effectively a castle?
Yeah, we throw the word castle around a lot because it's unique from the outside and then the inside as well. You don't walk down many residential streets and find a castle that's actually a nightclub, and that's Borjia. It's quite unique. It's got a cocktail bar across the road, Sazerac, which follows a very similar model, and they bounce off each other quite well. But our building's a bit more, it's very unique. So that's what Borjia is. It's based on cocktails and table service. We're sat in one of the bigger booths. Predominantly Friday and Saturday. We'll do a fair bit of private hire, especially around Christmas time. But it's more of a grown-up nightclub, especially opposed to Fever, which is much more for the younger crowd.
Sure.
So
you've gone from, in 2 years, you've gone from being an operator at a chain of venues, Revolution, to now owning. How many venues? 4/6, because the two in the Corby and Kettering are 2 in 1. Okay.
So they're 2 separate concepts, but they're we own them both, and we operate them in terms of they're different from a perspective in terms of music and what they offer. But I guess it's the best way to describe it is like Fever Boutique. It's a multi-room venue, but instead of being multi-room, it's 2 separate buildings that share a car park or a garden, etc.
What's been the transition like from working at Revolution as an operator to now as an independent, as an owner?
It's crazy because it's the stuff you don't think about that shocks you, like little things like remembering to pay bills is because that was never it was, as you can attest to, as I'm sure, just little things like that, and there is no, you are the support network, and I guess baptism of fire really was my attitude was everything needs to be systematized. My background is all system. There's a bit in place for this, and that's great. But when
your background, and that's from
from Revolution, everything. They're a PLC now. They're on the stock market. But even before that, they were massively about systems and ticking boxes, which is great. And I tried to instill that instantly, and it was alien to everybody that was involved with Borjia because they were just run as an independent, and it was sort of I wanted to go too far that way, and they were too far the other way, and it's just about meeting in the middle and sort of making it a bit more cohesive, but at the same time not killing it with paperwork and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so that was the most, from the day to day, when you're open on a Friday and Saturday, I'm not the owner, I'm the operator as much as I was back at Revolution. Revolution was really great for, you own the bar, you own the performance of it, and you can make changes and stuff. So it wasn't like I'd gone from being, like a bowling alley with the bumpers up. It wasn't like that with Revs. No. You could make, you can make your decisions. So it was very similar to that on a nightly basis in terms of how you're operating your Fridays, your Saturdays, your private hires, etc. But it was more the Monday to Thursday side of things of, not just placing your orders on time, but also making sure you've built the relationship with your suppliers. And like I say, we did all that inside a week just before the 1st of December. Right. And Borjia, we do a thing where we do cabaret bookings. We do two a month in December, where it's all pre-booked and it's a package with some food and some drink, and then we put on a show. And that was already we'd inherited that, and we didn't want to change it. We still use it now because it's a massive success and our customers love it. But trying to introduce yourself and making sure that they were still coming, because our experience with people that are selling or moving out of is the small stuff gets forgotten, and small stuff like bookings isn't small to us, So it was about, my advice to anyone doing it would be, don't do it the week before December. Give yourself a bit of time to move into the busy period. But it went really well, and we're really happy with it. But the difference, like I say, the biggest thing with the difference is just, you are everyone's support network. You haven't got a head office to call on. You are head office. Do you have
GMs at each of the
venues? So all our venues have a manager. They didn't when we first took over. We sort of took over with an intention of owning and running it day to day. But then obviously as we've grown, there was no plan to go from 1 to 4. No. We wanted to get on the ladder and start, so to speak, and we were really happy with what we started with. It's a beautiful venue in our hometown, and it's quite well liked within the town in terms of, it's a bit different to Bridge Street, which is your Revolution, your MBs, your late night stuff. So we're happy with that. And then the deal again with Fever came as a backhand comment, and then once we bought Fever, we realised, look, we need to start working on our infrastructure in terms of making sure that if something goes wrong in one venue, then the other one won't get ignored. So that was when we promoted Tony within Borjia. She was sort of head waitress / bar manager already, sort of doing the job. Because like I say, Paul and David were doing a great job, but they had jobs, they had day jobs, so we had someone looking after the boring stuff, shall we say. And we just elevated Tony into front of house, and she was running Borjia until she fell pregnant. So we've moved her. She's got an events and marketing degree, so we're sort of utilising her for that now. But the rest of the venues, to answer your question, that was a long-winded answer. But they all have general managers now. So.
What's your you just mentioned there about you're from Northampton, so you're your business partner. So I suppose having a place like this, there must be some sort of pride and passion.
Yeah, absolutely. And
did you ever come in here before?
Yeah, all the time. My wife and Dave's wife, more so, they loved Borjia. When we sort of talked about taking over, they were sort of like, but it's ours. That was and that our clients have that sort of, attitude's not the wrong word, but they have a lot of sort of pride of ownership, because like I say, you don't get in market towns, you don't get that many nice venues, like super nice venues. Everyone runs their venue. Northampton's, the late night operas are all doing a relatively good job, don't get me wrong, but they're all positioned at a specific market, and Borjia is one that's positioned at a bit more of a posher one. So there is that pride in that, and we love it. We have all our meetings here, regardless whether it's about Borjia or Fever or Corby or Ketchum. We make sure that we're always here because it's a beautiful venue, and we're yet to find anyone that's come and seen it the first time and gone and hasn't said the word wow, because it has got that wow factor, and we're quite proud of that. We wish we built it. We wish we could have that level of pride over it, but we've got it now, and we operate it with some real pride, and it's home. Northampton's home, so it's brave buying a venue in your hometown, because if it goes wrong, you've got to live with that. But we're loving it. We haven't looked back. So.
Do you do anything within the community itself? Let's say for instance, Northampton Town Football Club, for instance.
Not with the sports teams. We have a relationship with the Saints players. They come in and drink now and then. Especially when they've done well. But no, not in terms of that. We do a lot of stuff with younger football teams, especially more so in Corby and Ketchum, because there's a bit more of a community feel there. And I'm from Corby in terms of growing up. As a child, I lived in Corby, so we're just in the process of sponsoring a local football team in Corby, and we've done some bits and bobs with some charity stuff. And my business partner's wife's Romanian, and they do a lot of charity stuff over there because there's less bureaucracy. So if you donate £1, the full £1 goes to the people that need it. So we do a bit of that with that. But yeah, in terms of it's a bit more difficult in Northampton because it's quite widespread in terms of. But in Corby and Ketchum, we're a lot more involved in local bits and bobs.
Just talking about, we spoke about Borjia, in terms of Fever, so you took over that.
Yeah.
Fever's quite an established brand nationally. Now, when you took that over, was it a case of just repeating what was already done? Was it successful? Or was there things you had to change?
We had a real honest conversation with the guys at Fever. They essentially what it was the general manager of Fever at the time was a good friend of ours, and it was around Christmas time, and the head office team of senior management of Fever were doing their walk rounds and checking out all their venues in the towns. And in Northampton they did a walk round and they popped in here, and Charles sort of explained who we were, and Nigel made an off the cuff comment to Charles about, if we knew they were buying, they could have bought off of us. And like I say, we were happy with one. It was a big deal for us. We'd just taken over, and this was towards the end of December, start of January. So 1 month in of owning this place, we'd already sort of had comments made about potentially taking over Fever, and we sort of deliberately didn't touch it. It was like, we've been here a month, let's not run before we can walk, sort of thing. And then it's sort of February, March time, the conversation sort of sparked up again, and Charles sort of said, where are you at with it? What are you thinking? And I sort of said, well, we haven't got an answer to that question. There is no, we wanted a venue to start, and then that quickly became, until someone mentions an idea, you don't know the answer, do you? And then we sort of had a couple of conversations. We kept telling ourselves we don't want to, but we both knew we did.
Yeah. Why did you want it? Just because another venue?
Two reasons. One, mostly was about growth. To sort of make a statement that we haven't just bought a bar and we're happy with that. We want to make something more of this. And two was it was really refreshing to have a conversation with the guys at Fever. They were really honest about numbers, how much it was making, etc. And the money it was making to an operator that has 30 to 40 venues wasn't a lot, but to an independent was huge. Right. And it was appealing because it was the thought process behind it was it's a very different demographic to Borjia. So you're not competing with yourselves. And if this demographic aren't out, the chances are that demographic are, and vice versa. And it's they complement each other in a completely different way. And it just made business sense to take it from a P&L perspective. It made really good money. The overheads weren't incredible, and it was doing really well, really, really well. And we looked at the figures. Like I say, Mark and the guys at Fever were brilliant. They gave us the full 6-year history of when they opened as Kukui, and how it's traded, and the growth each year. And we'd literally just hit end of May was the exactly 1 year to the day of taking over, and the figures were strong. We've beat them comfortably, and made a lot more money out of it. So we're really happy with that.
What have you changed?
Mark was really honest. We haven't changed a lot. It was more about it needed to be owned by people that were invested in it at a local level. They'd moved on to looking at venues, in the thousands of capacities, not the hundreds. They were looking at big clubs in little bits and bobs. Smaller venues like Northampton just weren't on their radar as much. And with that, things slip. They were really, really honest. And I'm not sitting here and saying we've gone in and turned the venue around because it was doing well. All we've done is just maximise on that and put a bit more ownership on we do a lot of events and giveaways and silly bits and bobs like that we're happening sort of once every month, every couple of months. We do it twice a month religiously. And it's always on the quieter weeks to give people a reason to come out, because you start a month and you end a month parties, they look after themselves. Everyone comes out on payday.
Where do you think that sort of success comes from then? Do you think that's built within the type of nights you put on, what goes behind? I mean, what's your kind of ethos behind a good night here? Obviously, this is more of a cocktail place.
Yeah, it's cocktails and bottled spirits.
But then let's say versus Fever, is that a case of, right, we're going to be putting on X DJ? Or
No, it's not even events like that. Sorry, Fever Boutique is a combination of really cheesy, silly music that everyone loves but kind of pretends they don't until they've had a few beers and they're in there dancing.
Right.
And the boutique is quite heavy R&B and it's quite current and cool, and so it's quite a cool contrast. And boutique follows a similar ethos here. As we've only got 4 booths in there, but they're sold out every weekend religiously. And it's everyone, with their bottle of spirit and they're dancing to the music and enjoying themselves. Fever's more of a tongue-in-cheek, let's go and have a giggle type, but everyone loves it because everyone knows the words to the songs, and the DJs have fun with it, and banter with the customers, and it's a big light up dance floor, and it's just all a bit. So we haven't changed anything. That was I'm not sitting here saying we've invented that model. That was Fever and Boutique's model, and it works really well. It's just we've had an opportunity to really hone in on it from a perspective. So what we do in terms of events is we do a lot of giveaways and silly stuff. Like the last one we did, which was an absolute sellout, was we did Krispy Kremes. We just pre-ordered 400 or 500 quid's worth of Krispy Kremes, did a big social media campaign and just handed them out throughout the night. Makes no sense, but everyone went mad for it. And pictures on Facebook are silly and everyone's got donuts. And we did, our most successful one is the chicken nugget giveaway. We do that 3 or 4 times a year. We don't want to try and overdo it, but that's and literally we just thankfully Fever's next to a McDonald's, so we go in on the Thursday and let them know what we plan to do, and we pre-order a ridiculous amount of nuggets, and they turn up in a huge. How many are we talking? We're talking 500 quid's worth of nuggets. So and what we do is we pay for them in 20s, but they give us the boxes of 6. Okay. So we get 2 massive cardboard boxes, this high off the ground, this wide, full of 20 boxes of chicken nuggets.
How tempting is it to not binge one?
Oh, it happens. The staff get fed, we get fed, the DJ get fed, the door staff get fed, just off chicken nuggets. Everyone does.
Do they all go by the end of the night?
Yes and no. I mean, it's one of them because the first, we do it in 2 ways.
Just stash 400 here.
Yeah, just put these for later. I mean, I did pop into the cash desk actually, and there was a pile of nuggets, and I'm thinking, who's that for? And the doorman said to just to store it there for later. I'm like, yeah, right, okay, no worries. But yeah, they do really well in the first wave. Like we clear out, like absolutely, they're all gone. And then the second wave sort of, it does really well, but it's a little bit less so. But we want to be in a position where we haven't got rid of them all. There wants to be enough that people aren't going, well, they said they did another giveaway, but they gave away 4 boxes and that was that. So we want to go over the top. So the plan is to have a little bit too much anyway.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the success behind the team? I mean, obviously, you've got yourself, you've got Dave, you've got Tony.
Tony runs Borjia, okay. Dave runs Fever and Boutique.
So who are the people that would say come in here and actually make sure that the customers left feeling happy and then they'll come back again?
So that's Tony from Borjia's perspective. That's Tony, and she's massively invested. Like I say, we elevated her from a head waitress with a bit of extra responsibility into, we sort of give them the attitude that they're part owners as well in terms of, the success of the venue is their success too, sort of thing. So, and there's a relatively generous bonus structure in place so that if they do really well, they're rewarded. But Tony was an easy one. There was no need to get her to invest because she loved Borjia. If she wasn't working, she was in here, religiously every weekend. She loved the place, and she's been here on and off pretty much since day one. So she was an obvious choice for us, and there isn't a lot we need to do other than a bit of guidance, really, because she's so invested anyway. We're quite lucky with that, and she's brilliant. She looks at it from a customer perspective at all points, and if she's not having fun, then how can the customers have fun is sort of her attitude. And Touchwood, it's been working so far. Yeah. But yeah, she runs the day-to-day and the week, make sure the party's to the right level of fun and stuff. Sure. The DJs are doing what they need to be done, and the waitresses are on point, and the bartenders are looking after people the right way and stuff. But it's easy with Tony because, like I say, she loves Borjia, and she was really happy when we took over because as much as she loved working for Paul and Dave, it was nice having someone that was taking over that this was their focus. There wasn't a day job going on elsewhere. It was predominantly just the nightclub and the bar, and she's thrived off having that sort of access, I suppose. And there's no, I can't make it just now because I'm busy with my actual responsibilities. This is our bread and butter. So she's thrived under that, and she's doing a great job so far. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, in general, a lot of people say that nightlife is an industry, depending who you talk to, there's a lot of doom and gloom. I would say that you're a good success story from going from 1 to 4 venues. What would you put that down to?
Oh, I mean, it is tough. Let's not, but it's just about fighting for the pounds now and trying to give the customers something a little bit different. We're lucky. Borjia sort of does that for us because it's a castle. It's it's very, very unique. It's not on the main strip, which has its pluses and its minuses. Don't get me wrong.
Is that the strip behind here?
No strips. So that bit's the nut. So we're in the cultural quarter. It's called. So you've got Castilian Street, which is what we're on, and then St Giles Street, which is the bit you would have walked down. But if you keep going down that way, past the old bank, and then do a left, that's Bridge Street, which is where all your real late night stuff and Fever and Boutiques at the top of that.
Right. So
that's your real late night strip. This is sort of your early doors grown up strip, if that makes sense. Right. But going back to the question, it is tough. It's much tougher. When I first started as a glass selector, Revs was busy 7 days a week. It just was never quiet. And that's moved more to more weekend focus and some student stuff. But what we try and do is just sort of, are we having fun? And if we're not, then how can we expect our customers to? Yep. And it sounds really corny, but it's just about being a bit silly and not taking yourself too seriously. Even in Borjia, where it's grown up and more serious, it's still about having a giggle and making sure our customers are having a giggle and making sure our DJs are approachable and not robots and not got the ego as I'm not playing that, sticking to the music policy, but being prepared to have a bit of banter with the customers and stuff, and sort of making sure every single member of the team is prepared to be involved and joke around with, when we have tables in here and bottles brought out, the waitresses end up dancing around the table with the flares, with the sparklers and flares and stuff, and it's always on everyone's Instagram and social media because it's just fun. It's quite a simple process. It's just make it a little bit fun. And utilising things like Licklist, and if you've got something going on that's going to be good, take stupid amount of pictures of it, and then you can utilise it throughout the rest of the year. And that's something that because when I was at Revolution, it was all about IM VIP, and that sort of died off. And it was all about the key rings that nobody cared about, and it was just a bit naff. And photography suddenly become not cool because you had 3 photographers a week knocking on the door saying they want to come and take photos in your venue, and then suddenly they were all gone. And then we sort of had the conversation with you about this place, and then obviously now Fever and potentially Kettering. It's just about utilising every single thing you can in terms of making yourself stand out a little bit. Our parties, our giveaway stuff, especially at Fever, that there's no reason why they should be a success because they're stupid. But they're fun, and everyone has a giggle with it. And we've done Anne Summers giveaway, Mac makeup giveaway, like I say, the McNuggets and the Krispy Kremes, and we do a cash grabber where we literally get a confetti cannon full of confetti and a load of folded up fivers and just shoot it around the venue, and everyone, it's a bit like Crystal Maze, just silly stuff. And that's sort of been our successes. We've gone into every sort of venue and gone, right, we've sort of cheated because we've not started from scratch. We've always bought a venue that's already operating and then looked at ways to sort of improve and maximise. And our simple formula so far has just been fun. Mm-hmm. Put all the stuff in place to make sure that it's, there's no red tape that the managers have got to go through and hurdles to jump to get to the weekend. And when they do get to their weekend, just have a load of fun with it and make sure that you don't look around the venue and find people that are looking a bit bored or and just don't take yourself too seriously.
How are you marketing the venues?
It's all social media. We do a bit of poster work with Fever because we're out, where we are on the strip. It's the main pedestrian walkway up to the bus station and the taxi rank. So we've got 2 big billboards on the front of the venue, but the rest of it's all Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. Everybody looks online.
Do you get good success from what you're doing?
Yeah, the albums do the best in terms of reach and activity, and the amount of people's Licklist photos that are their profile pictures and cover photos and stuff is really successful. And then it's always just everything's an event, pay weekend party and stuff, and just always focus on the silly side of it and don't bore them with too much detail. Just big fat poster with loads of fun, silly stuff, and Touchwood. It's been successful so far.
Yeah.
What's the sort of next couple of years? Like you've had an amazing success story in a way, as we've said a couple of times now, coming up to 18 months, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Borjia, you've got your Fever, you've got your other venues in Corby and Kettering.
Yeah.
What would you say the next kind of 12 months would be?
We want to stop for 12 months.
Expanding.
Yeah, no more. Because we've done it with no real plan. I mean, it's probably about the time where we should probably get one. Is sort of our ethos. So whilst we're doing that, whilst we're having a lot of fun and things are going really, really well, there's still loads of bits and bobs in Borjia, in Fever, in Corby and Kettering that need improving. That we've spent more of our time focusing on what's next rather than what we've got. And we're conscious of, taking off too big a chunk at one time. So for the next 12 months, it's really about product and improvement and looking after what we've got and making sure everyone that is involved in the business, because we've had a bit of change in the last year, as expected in this industry, and make sure everyone's on board with what we're working towards. And then we'll see. There isn't a number, there's not, we want to get to 10 bars or 20 bars or anything like that. It's
make the 4 that you've got great.
Yeah. And then we'll see.
The average.
Yeah, and then we'll see. But we're not, we're saying we don't want to. We're not saying we're not going to.
No.
Because we didn't want to buy the second one or the third one or the fourth one. It just sort of happened. Literally, it feels like it sometimes too. Ironically, the Corby Kettering came as a 2-in-1, so it was like having twins. We haven't got a plan in terms of growth. The next 12 months are really about honing in what we are and making sure there's not a confusion between, not a dilution, between the brands, because Borjia is very unique. I mean, Corby and Kettering and Fever all follow very similar patterns in terms of its cheesy music and then a bit more serious music downstairs or in the next room, depending on which venue you're in. Yeah. But this one's about sort of not being dilute with that and making sure that we stand out as what we are in Northampton. Yeah. And then just maximising what we've got really and reinvesting a little bit in the boring side of things like maintenance and stuff like that you've got to do. And that's our plan for the next 12 months. But we'll get a phone call in 3 months and there'll be something that we can't say no to. Yeah. Is usually how it's gone so far. So that's where we're at really.
For people listening that are working as an operator or working in a venue that have aspirations to own a venue at some point, what would be your advice to people like that? And when looking to buy a venue, what do you look for?
Looking to buy one's a tough one because, like I say, we were really quite fortunate that they all sort of fell on our lap, so to speak. There's lots of stuff for sale, there's lots of stuff available, but there's usually a bad reason as to why they're for sale. And it doesn't sound like we have, but we've been really picky with what we have and haven't what we've said yes and no to. But in terms of wanting to make that step, you've got to love it. You've got to be one of those weirdos that loves being up till 6 o'clock in the morning because work and it's crazy and you don't switch off and it's got to still feel like a night out. And if it doesn't and it starts to feel like a normal mundane job, then I wouldn't advise jumping into the next step because I don't think you'll enjoy it too much because the fun's still there, but when you're the owner, it's on you to ensure, the stress levels come up with that too. So the fun's got to balance that. And if you're not absolutely loving it, then the stress can overload and make it less fun and suddenly it becomes, well, this isn't what I'd imagine. It's not like in the movies. I'll tell you that. It's a lot less glamorous than that at times. But Friday, Saturday nights are Friday and Saturday nights. They're loads of fun, but they don't show you the Sunday to Thursday in the movies. So I just give you a slight warning of that. But just if you want to do it.
I think it's a good thing for the industry that passionate owners, rather than an owner that's just a silent. Just owns the venue and leaves it to a GM, like someone that's actually passionate about the venue.
I mean, because the problem with that, you can get away with that if you've got a really great GM that buys into it as if they own it. Yeah. Because then they'll do the work for you. They're never going to be as
incentivised.
Or eventually someone else is going to realise how good they are and snap them up. So if you're not passionate about it, I don't know how you can instill passion in other people. Is all I'd say really. You've got to want it as much as you've got to want it more than the member of staff you're trying to train, because you've got to instill that passion into them. And if they're already more enthusiastic than you are, then how do you make them get better? How do you get more out of them when they're already ahead of you? I guess is how.
Nice. Well, so we spoke about a lot about the successes. About failures.
how long have you got? There's loads of little ones in terms of events we've tried that have just absolutely tanked. New Year's Eve here, like I say, we took over at the start of December, and we envisioned this crazy party for New Year. We had 60 people in at midnight. It was absolutely horrendous. It was brutal. We spent a load of money on acts and DJs and bits and bobs, and it was an absolute washout. And that was just because we should have been promoting that 4 months in advance, slowly building up to it. And we tried to do it in 3.5 weeks. And, we failed, which was really, really sort of sobering, because we'd taken over and it was all, we've been building up to it for ages, all the background paperwork and legalities takes forever. But then all of a sudden, just, right, there's the keys, boom. And it was really exciting, and it was already December, so it was always busy. And it was boom, 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 boom. Each weekend got busier and busier and busier up to Christmas. You had that lull in the middle and thinking, right, New Year's Eve, this is it. And it just didn't happen. And I was like, oh my God, we've crashed. It was the ultimate come down, geez. But we learned from it massively, and we've never tried to throw on a big event with very little notice since. So that's probably the most prominent one, but there's loads of little stuff, like trying out a new DJ that was just wrong. We've done that plenty of times. Hired the wrong staff for the wrong venue. Gone down promoter-led event routes that have alienated our actual normal crowd. Right. There's loads of stuff we've done wrong, but
it's about learning from it.
Yeah, just take it in your stride and don't do it again. You make a mistake. Try not to make two.
I think that's where the passion definitely comes into it. Ideally, someone might say, oh no, it's never going to work, it's all doom and gloom, but there's always another weekend, there's always another month, there's always another occasion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having that passion, the drive is obviously going to set you guys forward.
Yeah, and we sort of, when it goes wrong, it's a different feeling, but we still enjoy it, because it's like, right, this is a different, because if you're going to sit here and say, if any operator sits and says that it's all easy, they're lying to you, and I would be too, so I'm not going to. But when the challenge is, you get your normal week to week, month to month challenges that come with any sort of business, and that's, your suppliers, your security, your staff callings, all the usual day-to-day stuff happens. But when you get one that's different or a bigger challenge, so to speak, that's the one you really sink your teeth into. And the following New Year's was still not, New Year's isn't what it used to be, is the simple answer. But we learned from our mistakes. We promoted it much, much earlier, and we had a level of success that we were happy with. We still didn't smash out the park. Fever and Boutique did, but that's because we stayed open until 6 o'clock in the morning, and everyone came to us after everywhere else. We did really well with that. And that's the other thing that's really good as well, is when you're not relying on one business to be absolutely successful. If you have a bad week here, but you've got a good week there, it makes everything a little bit easier. And that was sort of why we went for Fever, because it was safe, it was trading really well, it was established in the town, P&L was healthy, and we sort of, our attitude with that was originally well, if all that does is take a little bit of pressure off of Borjia, we sort of went into that with the attitude of those silent partners that just let it, but we got too invested in it. It's loads and loads of fun, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek and doesn't take itself too seriously, and we love, that's us as people. We don't have serious conversations, we don't have formal business meetings. Most of our conversations are at 11 o'clock at night for 2 hours, because that's just how we are, and Fever sort of emphasises that and sort of complements us quite well, and that's how we got so invested with it. But yeah, I mean, failures, we've had loads, and we'll have more, and I'll probably have one next week, so it's just about enjoying it and learning from it, and not letting it beat you.
What is the most enjoyable part of your job?
There's nothing more enjoyable than walking into any of the venues on a Friday, Saturday, whatever night it is, and the place is absolutely bouncing, and everyone's doing their thing, and you don't have to, you just become a customer almost, and you spot your Tony or your Dave or Brad or Tommy or Connor or whoever it is in each venue, and you see them doing their thing, and they almost don't acknowledge you because they're just in it, and they're loving what they're doing. DJ's doing the right thing. That's the best bit. It still is. It always will be. You don't get in nightclubs because you want to make the cellar tidy or have the best stock take in history. It's about the party, and that is still the most enjoyable thing. The most enjoyable thing is when it's an event that one of you guys has come up with and put on themselves. Dave's done a lot of that in Fever, where he's gone, right, I'm going to do this tonight, and I'm going, okay, good luck. And I go in there and it's absolutely killed it. That I love being wrong in that respect. I love going, I'm not going to say no because that's something we don't have.
Give them ownership over
Yeah, absolutely. You know, do whatever you want within reason. And if you get it wrong, then learn from it and don't do it again, sort of thing. And there's been a few times where he said, I'm going to do this. And I'm thinking, I don't know, mate. Try it, have a go, and he does it, and I walk in on a Saturday at sort of 12:30, 1 o'clock, and the place is, you know, at capacity or just about to hit capacity, and it's absolutely bouncing. And I just go, I'm so glad I'm wrong, because going in there and being right is awful, because yeah, you're right, but your venue's empty, so it doesn't. There's no pride in that. There's no win there. So I love being wrong in that respect, and that's the biggest reward is when they go, look, I did that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you really did. Well done, thank you very much. And that's the bit I love the most. And Dave's the same, you know, we just love walking and going, wow.
Sounds like a lot of work because you're obviously day to day doing you're still in the club overnight as well and
I mean, I try and I was too hands on originally. You know, when we gave ownership to the managers, it was in name only to start with, and it was like, you're in charge, and then I'd be there all night telling them what to do, and they're not in charge and they haven't got an opportunity to make any decisions or make any mistakes. And so we had to sort of have a sort of like, you know, we made the joke about giving birth again, but you know, when parents have to just let the baby cry for a while, it sort of felt a bit like that at one extent, at one point. And so we go in, we're there, you know, we're in a venue or a couple of venues weekly, but we try not to make sure, you know, if we come to Borjia on a Friday, we'll avoid it on the Saturday. If we come to Fever on the Saturday, we won't go there on the Friday because you don't want to drown them out with too much concern. And but you know, Dave lives in Northampton. I live strategically, well, not strategically because it was done beforehand, but conveniently between Northampton, Kettering and Corby. So I'm about 15, 20 minutes from all three, from all three towns. Which was just complete luck. So it's quite nice when you have got an eye off that you're still not, if anything does go drastically wrong or someone needs some support, we're a maximum of half an hour away, especially that time of night because there isn't traffic or anything like that to worry about. But yeah, in terms of going back to how much, you know, the biggest win for us, it's just seeing the party going the way it should and everyone enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
And then obviously the money's great too, but it's more about the fun. So.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that was really good.
Cool.
Appreciate you coming on. Did you have any final questions, or are we good?
What's the sort of strangest thing you found in the toilet on an Olympic
my father-in-law was a plumber, and we had a major problem with the toilet kept backing up. You know, and we plunge it down, it'd go through, no problem. We get to the end of the Saturday night, and it was a pair of pants had been stuffed down a toilet. Obviously, I guess the guy needed to get to the toilet, didn't get there in time, had an accident, and wanted to hide his embarrassment by blocking my toilet, which was great bonding with the father-in-law when we finally pulled that out. But it's usually always underwear or discarded pieces of clothing is what we tend to find in toilets, usually. And they're almost always ripped or soiled in some description, which is lovely, I'm sure, but you asked, so there you have it.
Good stuff. Well, on that happy note,
we'll
leave it there.
Cheers.
Thanks, James.
No worries.